Welcome to this explainer. Let's start with a feeling that's incredibly common, but honestly, incredibly isolating. It's that heavy, sinking sensation of waking up, looking around, and realizing you're completely trapped in a life you desperately want to change. You know you're capable of more. You can clearly picture a better future, and yet, day after day, you remain in the exact same spot. Well, today, we're going to unpack the science behind exactly why that happens. Have you ever genuinely wondered why it's just so overwhelmingly difficult to change your life, even when every single fiber of your being desperately wants to? It's a deeply frustrating place to be, and if you're feeling this right now, I really want to validate that frustration for you. It's real, it's exhausting, and as we're about to see, it is deeply rooted in our biology.
These are the classic symptoms most of us experience when we hit that wall. Maybe you're staying in a completely stagnant relationship that just drains your energy. Or maybe you're sticking it out in a low-paying job that doesn't appreciate your value at all. Or perhaps you're just trapped in the exact same daily routine for years on end. Now, when this happens, our default reaction is to blame ourselves, right? We blame a lack of willpower, bad luck, or we just assume we aren't trying hard enough. But psychology reveals something entirely different. There is a silent, automated mechanism in your brain that is actively working against you to keep you exactly where you are.
So let's talk about part one, the hidden enemy in your brain.
Okay, let's dive into this. We hear a lot about common mental traps, things like imposter syndrome or confirmation bias. But the absolute most dangerous cognitive bias is actually one that is widely misunderstood. It operates entirely in the background, making decisions for you before you even realize what happened. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. At its very core, this cognitive bias means your brain naturally prefers what is familiar. Why? Because predictability creates a really powerful sense of psychological safety. Evolutionarily speaking, if something is familiar, it means it hasn't killed you yet. So your brain equates familiarity with safety, and it fiercely protects that safety, even if it's currently destroying your potential in the modern world.
When this natural preference goes unchecked, it mutates into this tragic paradox. Your brain develops a destructive habit of choosing familiar discomfort over uncertain opportunity. Think about that for a second. It would literally rather you be miserable but certain than happy but uncertain. This right here is the foundation of why you feel stuck. It's not a lack of drive, it's a biological miscalculation. So let's break down exactly how this dangerous bias quietly controls your decisions by looking at 5 specific traps. Starting with trap 1, the safety of predictability. Under the influence of that mere exposure effect, your brain basically acts like a rogue film editor. It splices and edits your environment to make an ongoing struggle actually feel safe. The more you experience a situation, the more comfortable it feels, even if that situation is objectively painful or limiting to you. Your brain treats the unknown as a literal emotional threat. It will actively choose a predictable everyday struggle over the risk of a better future. This perfectly explains why people avoid changing careers, learning new skills, or just asking for better opportunities. It's absolutely not because they're incapable. It's simply because the emotional costs of stepping into uncertainty feels way more terrifying than the comfortable misery they already know.
Then we have trap 2, the illusion of time.
When you're deeply embedded in those comfortable, predictable routines, your brain falls into a silent trap that completely kills your sense of urgency. Your brain assumes that tomorrow is always available. Because tomorrow or next month always feels wide open, your mind just turns off all the internal alarms that would normally push you to take action. It mistakenly treats time as an unlimited resource. The familiarity of your current stuck state tricks you into believing there is absolutely no rush to change. And this is incredibly dangerous because it delays the uncomfortable, gritty work of personal growth until years, and sometimes literally decades, have just quietly slipped by.
Next up is trap 3, the instant dopamine trap.
Under this familiarity bias, the brain really struggles to tolerate the short-term discomfort required to build any kind of long-term value. It demands immediate satisfaction. It prioritizes things it can get right now, like mindlessly scrolling social media or watching just one more video. This creates a battle in your mind every single day: instant comfort versus future freedom. Because the rewards of doing the right things, like going to sleep early, reading a book, or working on a personal goal, won't actually arrive until tomorrow or maybe next year, your mind aggressively resists them. It wants that instant comfort now. People who successfully build their lives from zero have to consciously train themselves to ignore this craving for immediate comfort in order to secure their future freedom. Which brings us to trap 4, the identity trap. Now this is where things get deeply personal.
When your brain becomes completely adapted to a negative baseline in life, it actually begins to reject any new information or positive changes that don't fit that familiar pattern. The crucial point here is how your brain edits your reality to protect its negative self-image. If you make a mistake, a healthy mindset thinks, okay, I made an error. But when you're caught in the identity trap, your brain edits reality to think, I am a mistake. It attaches the failure directly to who you are rather than seeing it as just a temporary setback. This means if someone praises you or if a genuine opportunity finally pops up, you'll likely feel highly uncomfortable and dismiss it. Why? Because that positive feedback conflicts with the negative self-image your brain has grown so comfortably attached to.
And finally, we hit trap 5, the survival mode loop. This is really the culmination of all the previous traps combined. When you spend years stressing about immediate, daily problems, your brain becomes locked into a state of sheer survival. Let's walk through how this vicious cycle actually works. First, you're stressed about just surviving the day or the week. This constant stress pushes your already depleted mind into step 2, cognitive overload. In this overloaded state, your brain is completely drained of the energy required for complex decisions, long-term planning, and strategic thinking, which drops you right into step 3. You are simply too exhausted to change. Your brain is only trained to survive the week, leaving you with zero mental bandwidth to face the uncertainty of learning something new or taking a big leap.
So how do we fix this? We need to talk about redefining adulthood and growth.
To break this cycle, we have to completely redefine what adulthood and growth actually look like. Real growth only begins when you stop letting these biological survival patterns make excuses for you. You have to stop avoiding responsibility and start taking absolute ownership of your choices. And frankly, it takes immense courage to realize that your brain is lying to you in the name of safety. Look at this quote. The brain's preference for familiarity is designed to keep you safe, but it is not designed to make you successful. That is the ultimate realization. You aren't failing. You're just biologically wired for a world that prioritizes hiding in a cave over building a thriving career. Shifting this narrative from a sense of personal failure to a project of biological rewiring is the first massive step toward freedom.
To actually succeed, you have to accept that the process of growth is going to feel confusing. It will be boring at times, and it will be deeply emotionally uncomfortable. But I want you to look at this reframing. Discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is literal evidence that your brain is stretching, adapting, and building a new understanding of the world. Every single time you feel that urge to retreat back to what's easy, remind yourself that the discomfort means the process is actually working.
I want to leave you with a final thought to carry with you after this explainer. What familiar discomfort are you choosing today? Are you choosing the comfortable misery of that job you hate, or are you going to choose the scary uncertainty of a new opportunity? The patterns that control our minds seem small, but they dictate our entire lives. Once you start understanding this hidden psychology, you'll begin noticing these patterns everywhere, patterns that most people completely overlook. If you want to keep unmasking these hidden psychological forces that shape everyday human behavior, make sure to subscribe so we can keep exploring them together. Thank you for joining me, and I challenge you to choose the uncertain opportunity today.